what you want.
How long were you married before Frank was drafted?
Oh, no, 3 days.
So it was a war wedding?
Oh, yeah. Might have been caught in 7 years.
Yes.
Well, he was married 3 days and he went back. I think it was like a fortnight after when he went. But I didn't see him after. I can't remember exactly whether it was a week or a fortnight. When he went overseas, you see, they'd had the overseas posting.
Yes.
He went back and they were married Saturday and went back on the Monday. So we were married 3 days.
Where did he go?
Godalming in Surrey. Frank White, yeah, that's it, Godalming in Surrey.
And you stayed here?
No, I stayed at home, yeah.
Did you know that he was going to go when you were married then?
Yes, well we should have got married on Boxing Day. You see, well, he had this overseas posting, so of course he came home, brought it forward. Well, they sent a telegram actually to say he was coming on the Saturday. So I had two bridesmaids' dresses and my own wedding dress to make in the week.
In a week?
Yeah. And Monday, we were married on the Saturday. Came home Saturday morning. I didn't know whether he was here or not. I went down to his mother's to see whether he'd got home, and I'd lost that much weight in the week and could hardly tell me. His mother said to him, "For heaven's sake, don't stand there, lad." Because he couldn't. He said, "Oh, I didn't know it was you." I'd lost that much. Well, he said I had lost that much weight. And whether I had or not, I don't know. I think he must have been worrying whether he was coming home or not.
And you just had the 3 days after you were married before he went off again?
Well, it wouldn't be 3 days really, would it? We were married Saturday and he went back on the Monday.
Yes.
And was that the last time that you saw him?
For about 4 years, wasn't it? That was October, we were married October the 19th. And it was about November the 4th or 5th when he got back in, I think 4 years later.
Can you remember your first letter?
Oh dear, I can't.
That probably the first letter was from Surrey, was it?
Oh yes, he wrote from there.
He was in Surrey for a time before
I can't just remember whether it was a week or a fortnight when he went, before they went overseas.
Did you know that he was going overseas?
Oh yeah. We didn't know when they went, when they'd gone, but we knew that they were going.
Yes, but you had no idea where he was going?
Well, over to the Middle East, of course. Because that was about the only place at the time. They were fighting out in, he was with General Wavell's army, you see, out in the Middle East there. So he went, I think it was November when he went out, and November when he came back, 4 years later. So,
did you have any letters from the desert then?
well, we got letters, of course, until he was captured. And I can't exactly remember how long, about 6 weeks probably, before we heard to say that he was reported missing. I think it was about 6 weeks.
How did you hear that he was missing?
Well, they send you just a printed form from the War Office, to say, so Trooper F.E. Bailey 7909091 was reported missing on such and such a date. Well, because we were in the business, my mum and dad were here then, and my dad and Frank's dad remembered reading where this General Wavell had been taken, General Wavell's army had lost so many men. So putting 2 and 2 together, we thought, oh, Frank will be in that lot, you see. And I put a notice, had a photograph put in this Evening Sentinel. And
straight away?
Yeah, well, pretty well straight away, to ask if any information they put it in somehow or other. Well, then I had Mrs. Wainwright and a friend, they came down. Well, their husbands were reported missing at the same time, and I think they were both in Frank's, the same unit as Frank, you see. So of course that gave us more idea that they would probably be prisoners. And same, I said I went to see the fortune teller.
Oh yes, what happened?
But this was before Frank was reported, before I had word he was missing, and this person was reading from the cards. And she just sat on, she was around my aunties, and she sat there and she said to me, "You've got someone," she said, "I don't know where he is, but wherever he is," she said, "it's damned hot." And sweat rolled out of her. She said, "But you no need worry, whatever happens." She said, "They'll come through. I can see him sitting on a stone having a damn good laugh here." She said, "So whatever happens," she says, "don't worry, he'll come through." So with that, after the first shock, and as I said with the other reports in the papers, we just put two and two together and thought, oh well, he might be in that lot, but you see he was.
Did you feel better after you'd seen the fortune teller?
Well, I hadn't word he was, I didn't know then. I hadn't had word he was missing then, you see. She told me this perhaps a month or 5 weeks before I had word that he was missing.
Yes.
Yeah, I think it was about 6 weeks. When then I had just a little card from him to say that he was, he'd been taken prisoner in Camp I can't remember the number in Africa. And on this card it said on it, "If you see Madge Wilson, tell her that there Eric's here with me." Well, they'd not heard from Eric. They lived in, George Street down,
Yes.
just above the Crystal they lived. And of course I knew Madge, I knew they hadn't had word from Eric. And of course I shot off down I ran all the way down there to tell them, and when I got down to the shop I was out of breath. I couldn't tell them what I'd come for. And Eric's dad was very poorly, and of course they didn't expect him to get better. He was downstairs in the bed in the room at the back. Of course he heard all the excitement because Madge called her mother in, of course. And the father was, he started getting excited. He was making a funny noise of some kind, and they all wanted to know what it all was, It wasn't long after before he passed away. And I think he lost both his mother and dad while he was a prisoner. That's the one they called Tug Wilson.
Oh yes. How did you feel when you heard that he was a prisoner?
Frank?
Yes.
I don't know, relieved, I suppose.
Yes.
Well, but you definitely would when you knew they were still living after so many being killed, wouldn't you?
Yes. So what happened after that? How long was he a prisoner?
He was 3.5 years prisoner.
Did you hear from him?
No, 3 years I think it would be, because he was in hiding 6 months. And he was in 7.5 months, something like that. Then they were in Switzerland for April to coming home. April to October sometime. He was in Switzerland, you see.
Did you get many letters when he was a prisoner? So how regularly?
They're only allowed to write so many. I can't remember how many they had. They were, because he used to send one to his mother, one or two to his mother, of course.
Yes.
And then so many to me, and then he'd got an auntie that don't like to read. You sent one to her occasionally. Not very often.
And could you write to him?
I used to write to him. Well, I wrote pretty often. Whether they got them all, I don't know. Because they wouldn't know how many you'd actually sent, Then we used to send parcels. We had a Red Cross, not a Red Cross, Prisoner of War Association, and they used to have a shop in Stoke. and we used to go down there with the Red Cross labels and pack the parcel. They packed the parcels actually for you, all your socks and whatever, your knitted pullovers, anything like that. And they used to pack them all. If you hadn't got enough in your parcel, they got stuff all the way around, because at different clubs and that, they were having raffles all the time, you know, for Prisoner of War Association, to get things together. I mean, if you could go down, they'd give you wool. You couldn't. Anyone would knit socks for these for the lads, you know. But I don't think they ever got them. And they used to take them out of the parcels.
Did they?
You mean the Italians?
Yes.
Just keep them for themselves?
Yes, in the furnished Frank said, I wrote to tell him I knitted a nice pullover and was sending it. Well, then he said, don't knit any more, don't send any more because I don't get them. I sent him, he wrote for a pair of sandals. Well, I sent those, but he never got them. You see, they were all on coupons for us, so that you were depriving yourself of these things. And we got a certain, if I can remember right, we got a certain number of coupons through the Red Cross to buy wool and different stuff for them. But you see, it was no use if they weren't getting them.
No.
They just took them out.
Excuse me a minute, don't get up, I'm on my way to get the box out of here.
Can I
Then,
get it for you?
well, you won't know it.
Right. So,
Did you go to any of the meetings in Hanley?
He was telling them about the Victoria Hall. I'm just trying to think of what used to happen.
what were they for? What did they do?
Well, there used to be. Have you heard of Mayor Hall at all? You probably
No.
wouldn't have heard of Mayor Hall. Well, there used to be Miss Harrison's. I think there was what? I don't know whether there were 2 or 3 sisters, but anyway, there used to be. I knew 2 of them. They used to have a lot to do with the Prisoner of War Association, you see. Irving, Mr. Irving, the pottery people, and their son was prisoner. So they formed this association and used to have a meeting in the Victoria Hall. I rather fancy it was every month. I used to go if I wasn't working because I was on ammunition. I was on I was at the ROF at Swinnerton, you see, so I used to work 7 till 2 on one Sunday morning. I'd work a long day, didn't I? I used to work 7 till 7. 8 till 7 Sunday morning, that was it. Used to do a double turn, you see. Then we should go on at 2 in the afternoon till 10. Sometimes I should work through till 7 next morning. And then we did the night shift. So that when I was on night, I used to go, because I didn't go until I left here about 8:30. Used to be about 4 buses down the road here, right the road here, picking them up to go to the ROF station, right through to Swinnerton.
And what actually happened at these meetings?
Well, they used to give different reports, you know, the Red Cross reports.
Someone would read them out?
And you'd give report if you'd any information regarding certain men, you know, you'd give out, or you'd ask all the kind of questions about parcels and different things.
Was it sort of quite formal then?
Oh yes, they used to get full, this place, and towards the end, you know, there was that many different mothers, and I used to meet more often than not. I should meet up with Bill Almett's mother.
Did you feel better out of the meetings, or did they just make you feel?
Oh no, because you used to meet other people, you know. They're all in the same boat as yourself.
Yeah.
And if they receive what information they receive from the Red Cross regarding different prisoners or different things, you know, I mean, there was always a lot of red tape attached to all these things, and then of course they'd arrange different things to get money in for the association. To tell you the truth, I've really forgotten what we used to do. Well, we used to have a lot of Miss Harrison used to be there, and Mr. Bridge. As I say, they arranged different things for. They had raffles and things like that.
To raise money.
Funds for
Yes.
the association. And now I had a silver plated basket, fruit basket. Now I took that up to Swinnerton, and we had a raffle on the group that we were on, because there'd be 600 on a shift. They had the raffle for funds. You see, they'd got funds going up at the ROF place, you see, and that was a raffle for the ROF, Swinnerton, or a Ordnance factory.
Oh, I see, yeah.
They got this going down at the administration block, this fund going, you see, so of course they had, it's surprising even out there what went on, you know, different collections it had for different things.
What other sort of things did you do for them? Like the knitting, did you have knitting circles and things like that, or anything?
Well, I never went to anything like that. Well, probably, you know, some women would. Well, I think, if I can remember right, that's what they used to do down at Stoke. Different women, you know, they used to go and they probably sit down there knitting for the association. Had quite a lot of different women that used to do all these things for them. You know, women that weren't same as myself on munitions and all that. We used to spend the time working.
Yes. Well, how soon did you take a job then? How soon did you begin working?
Well, I was down at what's the name there? Medadairy, I think. Medadairy at Stoke. No, Home Colonial. I was working at Home Colonial, you see, on the counter. Well, when I had word he was reported missing, I went down. I said I was going to work at the ROF station. My father says, you know what, I'm not letting you go down there, because we used to get them in the shop, you know, all yellow, with the yellow powder in their eyes, bunged up. I'm not letting you go down working down there. Anyway, I went down to the Labour Exchange one day, and to see about getting, I said, well, I'll go and get office work job. And they said, well, why did I saw the person that was interviewing for the office. She said, why do you want an office job? So I told her, well, I was the only one. And my husband had been reported missing, and I said, and I wanted to go on the ROF. I said, but my father threatened to tie me down in my bed if I go. He said he won't let me go to work in the yellow powder. He said, I'll tie you down first. Then I explained to them why. Anyway, they said, well, would you take up a job in the stores? I said, yes. So I went in the stores. Anyway, I think I started on the Monday, early morning. Used to leave here at 5:30. Catch a bus here. And the first week I was on. No, I did the week of mornings, then I was on afternoons. And while I was in the stores, all at once a voice come through the exit, the emergency exit, calling Mrs. Bailey, Mrs. Bailey. So what on earth's that? Then it was this person that had interviewed me at the Labour Exchange. So she said, I'm Mrs. Dean. Oh, I knew she was Mrs. Dean from the interview. She said, I ought to have known, she said, when you told me that you were the only one and you were told me about your dad. She said, I ought to have known who he was. And she said, "Are you happy here?" I said, "Yes." "Are you sure?" I said, "Yes," because she says, "I'll get you up at admin block if you're not." I said, "I'm quite comfortable." I was still in the yellow powder for all that. But it turned out, as it happened, it was a gentleman that used to do the wireless. He used to deliver premium milk, actually, and then he went working on Marconi, and then he went working in a wireless shop in Handley, and my dad had his wireless off him, the Marconi wireless, you see. Well, he was here mending it when I came in one afternoon when I'd been on mornings, because it was 4:30 before we used to get home. And he said to me, "Have you started to work?" Because I was always at home until I went down to the Maclonia when the war started. He said, "Have you started to work, Gladys?" I said, "Yes, I've gone to the ROF station." He says, "Who interviewed you?" Of course, in a minute. "Oh, Mrs. Dean, your wife, is it?" He said, "Yes." So of course he'd told her, and they wanted me to go. No, as I say, she wanted me to go up to the administration block, but I didn't go. I stayed, and then I took the entrance exam for. Well, I thought bookkeeping. Well, I come out of this 100%. So the head of the bookkeeping department said it wasn't enough. He said he wanted more than that. So of course I turned to him. I said, "Well, if you'd have let me know, I'd have got 110. Because I thought, well, I'm being as daft as him, you see. Anyway, he put me on to what they termed work taking, all to do with clocking card and output and all that. So of course I finished up on another office on the detonator group.
So a lot of women went out to work who'd previously just been at home.
There was 800 a shift, 600 to 800 on this shift group that I worked on.
A lot of people had just been at home before the war.
They just went before that, you know.
Did you get an allowance or anything from Frank?
Oh yes, you got. Oh heck, I don't know what you got. I couldn't tell you. Forgotten.
But it wouldn't be enough to keep you.
Jackie, I couldn't tell you. I couldn't tell you what I got now.
But most women went out to work.
The biggest part of the women went.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, of course you were conscripted out, actually. At a certain age, you were sort of.
Oh, you had to.
Oh yes, it's either that or the army.
Yes.
Same as you see, I was always at home here. I never went out to work, and that's why I went down to Stoke. I said, I said they'll send me out to work in any case, so I might just as well start.
Yes.
And that's why I started in there. I said, well, if I go into a food shop, I'm doing something that's of some importance. Of course, as I say, when he was reported missing, that wasn't enough for me.
Did you ever think of going back to the fortune teller when he was
I
reported
didn't
missing?
go back to that one. I went to another one. This is one that my auntie took me to. But how we went to her in the first place, she used to go up to the Union just above the old house there. My auntie and uncle used to go in for a drink on Saturday nights. Well, this person must have got friendly with my Auntie Lily, you know, she used to go on Saturday nights. But my auntie had got a glass of Guinness, and the froth round the side, this person just looked at it and she said to him, "Do you know anyone named Gladys and Frank?" And my Auntie Lily said, "Yes." "Why?" But she wouldn't tell her anymore. So they made arrangements to go up, you see, to this person's home. And when I was going up, I was minding a line of washing, blowing out in the sun. I said to my auntie, "Oh, doesn't it look lovely blowing there?" As soon as this woman opened the door, she said to me, "You've been busy?" I said, "Why?" "She's got a line of washing with you." I said, "Well, fancy if I'd been married at the bottom of the road." But she didn't know that we were related, you see. Mind you, I mean, it's only related to me through marriage, actually. It was my mother's brother. But she couldn't tell me auntie anything because I kept drawing her. You see, Frank worked in an office and was typing, and her son worked in an office typing, and he was in the RAF. He was out in Canada. You see, well, Frank was out in Italy at the time, and I said, well, of course this was probably, it was a bit 2.5 years in between, you see, and she just got muddled up. She said she couldn't tell what the relationship between the two were, but she said, I can't tell you anything for her. That was me. But she kept getting this person that could type, that was connected with a typewriter, you see. And then she said that she got this barbed wire. She said it's someone that's going to escape. Well, of course, then I knew it would probably be Frank. But she'd got a crystal, and she put it in a black glove, and she showed me this of a boat. She said, wherever they are, they're going to go over water. She said, look, they're here. And she showed me this boat going over the water, and they got their arms. She said, there's two of them here with their arms round one another. And I could see that in the crystal myself.
Gosh.
There's a boat going over water. The first thing I asked Frank when he got home, did you go over water? He said, yes, we went over Lake Como when they escaped. When they eventually got up into Switzerland, you see, we rode over Lake Como.
What else did she tell you?
Oh, she told me a lot, really, but not connected with Frank, you see. When he came, but she said when he got home, there was something connected with an Alice. Of course, this is going off the tail of Frank, really, but someone connected with an Alice. She got an Alice. She also got someone in uniform. She got the railway lines, and she brought all the railway lines through this crystal. She got a house, and she explained everything. Into this house she went over concrete or tiles, up so many steps, over a bit more concrete, through a door, she said, in a longer hall. She said this person in uniform would travel on the railway lines, connected with this Alice. Well, they'd got my mother and had got an aunt Alice in Stockport. Well, this one in uniform in the house, she explained right down to the colour of our Jack's furniture. A green suite. The mantelpiece was open with the basket fire, and it was light blue tiles. Everything down to his home. And he was in the fire service in London. And Frank came home in the November as we lost my grandfather in the 22nd of December. Well, Jack had to he came up for his father's funeral. See, it's my uncle actually, but my mother reared us. We were reared as brother and sister, you see. And he came up from London when Frank came home from my grandfather's funeral. It was fantastic, that woman was.
Do you think more people went to see her during wars?
Well, I don't know. She didn't really advertise the fact that she could do all this. You know, she didn't like to... because I don't think it was... I think we were going against the law, I think, really, weren't you, in those days? You know, to do it for anything like that. But she did tell me, she said, I've got a lion and a unicorn on my face. We were going...
Meaning?
She said, you've got a lion and a unicorn. I don't know. We took it that... she said, something's going to happen connected with the lion and the unicorn. Well, we nearly went... And when he came out of the forces, we were on about going into public business. I wondered whether that was anything to do with it, you know. But we didn't. It would have been called Oh, it wouldn't be the Golden Lion, what was it? I think it was some named line in Newcastle.
Mm.
I can't just think of the name of the place. It was some friends of Frank's mother's. And Dad's, you know, they were retiring.
She just read the crystal then. She
The
didn't
card. Oh, she had cards as well. Mm.
Did she tell you anything out of those?
Well, she brought all this out of the cards and then showed it you through the crystal. You see, that's how she did it. I read the cards and then showed you all this through the crystal. They were showing me the railway lines and showing me Frank and going over this person that was escaping. There's two of them in the boat here.
And you could see the boat?
Yes, you could see the shape of the boat and the figures. They looked as if they hadn't got shirts on. Whether they had, I never asked him. But they looked as if they'd lost everything, as you might say.
How did you feel when you saw that boat in the crystal?
I couldn't tell you. I don't know. Well, I suppose I must have thought. I suppose. Well, I was just waiting for news then to supposed to say, well, he had escaped. But waited. He was 7.5 months. He was still in prison camp then. You see. But when Italy capitulated and they got out, they broke loose. He was 7.5 months before I knew where he was.
7.5 months before you heard anything at all.
Mm.
And then I was working the morning that cable came through. My dad got on the phone to me at Swinnerton, and I'd just sorted between 600 and 800 blocking cards all in order for getting on. We used to sheet them out on different shops that they worked on. And I'd sat and sorted these cards out all in order, and it didn't come through on our own phone. I think our own phone was engaged. It went through on the progress chaser's phone that was at the back of us in our terrific big office. Of course he called me, and it was my dad. He told me what had happened. I just got hold of the 600 clocking cards, got hold of them, I shouted, whoopee! The shower clocking cards, I'd sort them all out again. I said, whatever's gone wrong? That was the matter. I said, oh, they've just had the cable to say Frank's in Switzerland. Needless to say, I couldn't work after that. And I came home, I got I back from the group that I ran down to the admin block was 2 or 3 miles, and I walked down. Man, they used to have a bus going round, but I walked down to the main admin block and got a bus from Swinnerton, the ordinary service bus back home. I was here just turned 1 o'clock. Then I sent a cable through to Switzerland, you see, went down to cable through to Switzerland to say we'd received his cable.
Oh, you had an address? You knew where he was?
Oh yes, he'd put an address on it. He put an address on, see, it was in some camp because we were in quarantine for so many days. I don't know whether it wasn't a fortnight. They were in quarantine for when they got into Switzerland. And then they went working on I think Frank was working on a farm somewhere. There should be photographs of these people that he worked with.
When the fortune teller said that Frank was going to escape, did you?
She didn't know who it was.
Who it was.
She didn't know who it was,
No.
but she got someone behind wire or barbed. Well, she said barbed wire or wire, but she got this person, you see. And of course, when she said that, I knew it would be Frank, not my cousin that was out in. See, she got these two, and they were coming home. You see, she got and she couldn't make out with my auntie being there, and she just couldn't. She couldn't get out who was who. You see.
Yes.
And the beauty of it was both houses that this one was coming home to, they'd got green curtains, and they were coming up a step over concrete or tiles or something, up another step, and up along into a hall, and the house had got green curtains. Well, at that time, you see, they come across the shop floor, they come up the step, across the shop floor, up that step, up here. Well, my auntie lives in these houses down the side, and I don't know whether you've noticed those. Up a step, along the little porch, up another step. Well, my auntie got green curtains as well as my mother had got green curtains here. So it was just absolutely baffled, you see.
Yes, you didn't know which it was.
Baffled for my auntie Lily, myself, and this person. We were really stuck. And even with my auntie Lily, she got this person coming home, you see. And then she said, well, whoever it is going to escape. So then, of course, we knew who it was. We knew it wasn't being Jim, because he was in, he'd no need for escaping. He was in there, stationed out in Canada, in the RAF, you see. So, of course, we guessed then it was Frank.
How did you feel when you thought you might be escaping?
Oh, a bit worried, of course. I suppose you don't know. They're stuck miles away. You don't know what's happening, or this. I mean, if I'd have known he was walking over the house like he did, I don't suppose I should have rested much. Because, same as they said, they wouldn't. Both him and Bill Elrich said if they changed in daylight, they wouldn't have gone over. The ROF stationed all these different groups. As I say, there was 600-800 working on the shift. They'd get concerts up and all that, different. On night shift, more often than not, you'd have a concert. Sometimes it'd be answers would come round, another time you get them off the different groups sing. Their own operatives singing. They had me up one night.
Did they?
In one group, yeah.
What did you sing?
Miss You. Do you know, that song never made a hit. And you'd have thought it would have done during the war, but it's come out since.
Who sang it during the war?
No one. It never made a hit at all. It was just a song that was written and that printed, but it never made a hit. You never heard it.
Can you remember it now? The song?
Well, it's been on quite not this last few weeks, but in this last 12 months it's been out quite a lot on the radio programmes. This one, 10 o'clock, 9 o'clock till 10:30. I've heard it quite a lot, and I've said many times, you would have thought that song would have made a hit. During the war when men were away, wouldn't you? Not why they had me singing. I can't just sing Miss You. Miss you more than I can say, dear. Is it miss you? Oh, I've forgotten it now. I'll have to think and I'll tell you the words. I'll have to think. Oh, where's that photograph? There's a photograph somewhere that Frank sent with the poem on the back. Put it himself off and left it in, for the people in Switzerland. Where's it gone?
Did he sent you a lot of photographs, did he? I mean,
we had one through from the prison camp. Oh, here it is, look. Oh, can you see it? I should have another one that he sent when he was over on the boat.
He sent you one from the boat?
There should be another one on a letter that she sent on the boat. When he was going over, it's a long one like this. If I can find it, I'll
yes.
Because that's...
Can you read that?
It says there's a rose that... Oh, we know he's cut half of it off, hasn't he? No, he's cut half of it off, haven't he? Probably Frank could tell you.
Yes.
See, he's cut half of it away.
Yes.
What did other people do?
He didn't take long, did
What's
he?
that poem? You've got
There's a
that
rose that
one.
grows in no man's land, and it's wonderful to see, though it's sprayed with tears till the fears in my garden of memories. It's the one red rose, a soldier, something. It's the work of a master's hand. Amidst the great curse stands the Red Cross nurse. She's the rose of no man's land. The rose of no man's land.
And he sent you, where did he send you that from?
No, he didn't send it actually. I sent this out. And he wrote that on the back. He didn't send, mustn't have sent this one to me. Wouldn't have done. Because that's the photograph I sent out to him, see. I thought it was one.
Did he ever send you anything special?
I'm trying to think of that one he wrote. It's in a big sheet of foolscap like this. When he was going over on the boat, he'd write day by day, you see. He'd put the date on and so much what had happened that day, and then the next day. And then this poem came on the back. What was that one?
Which one was that?
That big sheet of that poem that you sent.
What was on the boat?
Yeah. I think that's upstairs somewhere.
I've forgotten it now.
I'll have to find
We
it.
sang that one last night.
I'll have to find
A
it.
band of young soldiers once camping it.
Oh yes, I know. Well, we don't
No,
want to
no, it's quite clean.
I can't think of, and I used to know that poem off by heart. But of course I've never bothered with it since it come home. I used to read it off by heart. It's, I can't think of it. But I'll have a look in the drawers upstairs.
Yes.
Because I've got an idea it's still up there. And then I'll let you have it.
You thought that much about me, hang on to that, did you?
Yeah. Because I mean it will be worth
Yes.
having. Wouldn't have one.
That's yours.
I didn't.
No thanks very much, Rick. Thanks, sir.
You just sent him.
Right. So I'll have to have a look upstairs and see if I can find it.
Did he send you anything else? And like at Christmas and things, could he send you anything? Did you manage to send him anything?
No, you see, because we were only allowed, we couldn't send anything until we used to get the labels from the Red Cross, and I think we were allowed to send 2 a year. 2 parcels a year.
That's all.
Yeah. I'm sure that's what it was. Then the labels would automatically come through. See, the association applied for them. When you were, same as anyone had word that the husband was missing, and if they went to this place in Stoke, to the association, they would make inquiries. They made all the inquiries from the Red Cross, you see, for people to see if the Red Cross had got any information of anyone that had been, captured or anything, because they'd probably send a list of names through to the Red Cross, where they didn't send them through to the government. See?
Yes.
And I had word from Frank. I informed the government that he was a prisoner. They didn't get word. Well, they never sent me word anyway. I had to inform them that had word from him to say he was a prisoner in such and such a camp in North Africa. Well, even the Red Cross couldn't find this camp in North Africa for many, many while. They couldn't, when I reported to them that this camp that was in such and such a, I think it was 41, if I remember right, Camp 41, and they eventually found out whereabouts it was.
How did you find out about it?
I had a card from Frank.
Ah.
I had a card from him long before anybody else, before Mrs. Wainwright and sort of course, and as soon as I had word, to say that Frank was a prisoner, my father had got a motorbike and sidecar, and of course it was, get the motorbike and sidecar out, or let's go up to Smallthorne to see Mrs. Wainwright and Salter. Well, they were quite a while before they had a card or anything. And as I say, Mrs. Wilson's were months, and Frank, he told them about his father dying and his mother dying, and they were out in Italy. Then were in Italy, and he, poor old Eric, wasn't getting any letters through. They weren't getting anything from him. And he'd been in many, months, hadn't you, when you went to Italy? You were in the camp in Tripoli from goodness knows how long.
Can you remember anything more about that concert that you sang? When you
Yes.
sang?
What do you mean?
But what did the other people do?
Oh, a lot of them were singing.
What were they singing?
Oh, haven't only heard one of the songs the other day. I only heard one, that someone singing one the other day. There's one of the, we used to get the fitters and all the lot singing, you know.
By themselves all together?
More often than not. No, more often than not it was by yourselves.
So it was like a show?
Oh yeah, they made quite a really good show, you know, it's surprising. I should have liked to have joined Enser if it had come to that, but of course, couldn't go, you mustn't leave home.
Were those concerts regular?
Oh, they had Enser concerts many times, you know, one night, most about, I think it'd be once a month.
But they were professional entertainers?
Oh, they were, yes.
But, I mean, the concert you're talking about, they were sort of
They
just
were,
ordinary
yes,
people?
these were ordinary operatives, you see.
Yes.
But, and how they got me on was because I was in the office, and the Labour officer used to put all these, get these concerts up on for operatives, you see. Well, when we were on nights, as we were doing the work and all that, we used to sit singing, see. Well, because there was nobody else in the office, only the Labour, the girls at what we call the Labour office girls, and us work takers. There was no one else in. I mean, there was no progress chasers or anything like that on night shift. And because so we used to have a really good sing-song as we were working, you see.
Yes.
And that's how they got hold and got me on singing. I remember it started off and I dried up. I got scared. Oh, and one of the girls out of the Labour office were playing the piano. I really forgot my words straight off, not to start again. And we had two canteens, you see. We had two canteens, the North Canteen and South Canteen. Well, they had
songs when the girls used to sing together when they were working?
Crumb used to sing all for White Cliffs of Dover and all that time. We used to sing anything actually. I'm trying to think that song that, was just, I forgot them all now. There's a White Cliffs of Dover. Apple Blossom Time was another one. Oh, the devil was. Oh, no, we used to sing This Miss You, of course. And I can't think of them. I can't think of the songs that were out then.
What was the favourite one?
You, Jackie, you're asking me something now. This is the one that I'm trying to think of. One of the boys sang, but I can't even think of the title. If I could think of the title, I should know that. I should get the song. I heard it on the wireless the other day, and I said to Frank, "Oh, that's what one of the lads sang."
But you had lots of concerts and things.
Oh
did you?
yes, I had loads of them, different. Yeah. Then I moved on. They moved me on to another group. I went on to another group, and I refused to work.
Did you?
I refused to go.
Why?
Well, work takers, on the group that I was working on, One West as we call it, I mean you were like the office staff. But not on this one that I went to, mind you, it was the girls' own fault. They wouldn't, if there was anyone knocked at the window for information, we haven't got time. We haven't got time. Well, they used to get pitched over the cleanways. Different girls have thrown them over the cleanways before now. Because where you walked on these ROF stations were called dirty ways because of the powder, you see. And over the barriers, over the railings, the grass and that was all called cleanways. And when you went on, you changed your clothing into, you stepped over a barrier and you were searched for everything, cigarettes, matches or anything. Then you went over the barrier, you see, onto the dirty ways. And as I say, with the work takers, I went over, they had work takers down at the administration block rang me up to tell me to go over to one East. I said, I'm not going up, not 1 East, 7 East South. I said, I'm not going on 7 East South. You're not? I said, no, I'm not. And why not? I said, what? On that group? I said, we treated with respect on One West, but I said, not 7 East South. I said, no, I've not been used to working on anything like that. Oh, well, he said, you for the high jump? I said, well, I'll be for the high jump. But I knew he wouldn't be long before he was coming home, you see. I said, I'll you have to be for the high jump.
What does he mean, high jump?
Well, you went to court or something like that, you know.
Yes.
You were sort of like being in the army.
Mm.
And or you finished at a minute's notice or something like that. So I said, well, I'm not working on 70 South. I'd been relieving, you see. I'd gone on when they were short staff. I should go over, and I'd gone over and helped them. And this is what I said, there were no table in the canteen, you'd just sit among the girls. Well, we didn't wear overalls, we wore our own clothes, you see. All these your clothes are all getting contaminated. Which in One West we had our own section, the old office staff did their own section, you see, and so of course this is what I said I wasn't going. Anyway, they said to me, well, he rang me up later on, and Mrs. Bailey said, if I get on to 7 East South, onto the manager, to get things altered, will you go? I said, I'll go and give it a trial. I said, but I'm not promising you I'm stopping there. So I went on the Sunday. Of course the girls met me coming down the road. What have you been doing? What have you been saying? Why? Well, so-and-so, I forget his name now, was the senior work taker. He's had to come in on nights. He's had to come in on nights. I told him, because he said he's only got through you. I said, I don't give a toss. He said, I'm not working on a group like this. I said, and even the shop manager, he got on to him, and he got on to me. I said, well, I'm not going to work in atmosphere. I've been used to working in a happy atmosphere, not an atmosphere as you've got in this office. And as I say, if any of the operatives came with a query on clocking cards, well, we used to answer it, it was our job. But not that lot over there. They did after a bit, I tell you. If they didn't get up, I got up. As soon as they knocked on the window, I should go and open it, just have a little sliding window, you see. Oh, they used to carry on at me. I said, well, how do you expect to be treated with respect if you don't respect operatives? If you're not going to answer their queries? Anyway, they were real off to do because I refused to go on this group. Anyway, they altered. There was a table put out, separate and everything.
Were there lots of prisoners of war for floating around Stoke?
Yes. Oh, there'd be a big lot, there must have been, because, I mean, you've got, you have the German men that were prisoners in Germany, and you got these that were in Italy, and eventually you got the Japanese, you see, and those people never heard from them. I bet they'd go 2 or 3 years. We'd got one in our office.
But what
were
about
they
the
prisoners?
Italians, for instance, the people who, the prisoners of war
here?
over here? Did you ever come into contact with?
Oh no, never came into contact with any of those.
Because there was a camp locally,
In
wasn't there?
Market Drayton, wasn't there? There was an Italian camp.
Well, I think there was one. Now, wasn't there a camp up in the other side, Leak? Up in Blackshire if I remember right, there was a camp up there.
For Germans or Italians?
Well, I suppose it'd be any.
But you didn't meet her?
Oh no, I never met any of them. And then there was, I think there was another one. Now, on the Stockport Road, somewhere that side, there was another camp there, because used to say, when we've gone out after the war finished, you used to see the barbed wire and the lookout towers up. So I imagine that there would be another one out that way.
Did you know anybody who came into contact with them?
No, I didn't know it, no. Mind you, Frank came into contact with one when he came home and went to work during the Pay Corps at Manchester. They used to have a prisoner of war there, one of the boys. And I think, if I remember right, he was a German. And he made, of course, when our Stuart was born, he made pecking ducks for Stuart, this German fella, because he worked in the, Frank went to work in charge of the officers' mess, and this young fella, this German boy, worked in the officers' mess with Frank, cleaning the tables and all that. And he made this, just like a wooden bat, and the ducks on with the string, with the weight, and you do this, and he'd peck. And because he was only made, if I remember now, I think he made me a pair of rope sandals, rope shoes somehow or other, I can't just, but all the soles were rope. And Frank used to take the rope off the papers, and he made all these sandals with this rope.
Can you remember the day that Frank came home?
I can as well.
Tell us about it.
Well, of course I was going to be all spruce dressed up, and he came out overnight. I was cleaning the bedroom, going to get everything clean, and there wasn't a thing on the dressing tables. And I got my hair in curlers. Of course, as I say, I was going to be toughed up so nice, but anyway, he came overnight and he was waiting on the doorstep when my mother opened the door and fetched the papers in. He was there, standing on the doorstep. And of course, he came upstairs to me with my curlers in.
Had you just been waiting then till your mother opened the door then?
He'd come overnight and was on the door, so waiting for he wouldn't knock, because, well, he knew there wouldn't be so great while, and she said, I saw this figure in uniform, and because I expected him to get in touch when they got home, you see, but instead of that, I think he said they came in at Liverpool, and of course they were transported down to Guildford. No. Yeah, down, not Guildford, he went from Guildford, but down that way somewhere. And then he got, they said, oh so-and-so, there was a army lorry, I think, going up to London. And I think he got a lift, you see, and came home. And we didn't know that they'd got in. We knew that they'd sailed because they'd got onto he'd sent word over that they were in Marseille, and then they'd gone from there. They were due to, only waiting for a boat, you see. So, of course, we didn't know how long they'd got to wait. Anyway, they were taken from over into Rome, Florence, I think it was. Over in Italy anyway, somewhere, and then they came back that way. See, I thought they may have come overland, but they didn't. They came home in one of the American boats.
So you didn't expect him at all when he
Didn't
arrived?
expect him as soon as they got in, you know. As I say, I was just getting everything ready. I thought, well, it won't be going from the time that it took then, a good while coming over then. And I tell you, I was there with my curlers in and all the
But you had seen him since he'd come back from abroad, hadn't you?
No, that was the first time.
that's
First
nice.
time I saw him. But when
Did he
came-
look very different?
No, not much different. I mean, he's different than he is now. He wasn't as fat as he is now. I haven't got that there. So you weren't as fat as you are now, were you? Oh, were you? Oh, you don't. No, you. I noticed when you was in prison camp that you sent that photograph and you were blown up with the macaroni puff, as you called it.
What's that? Macaroni
Oh,
puff?
macaroni puff. Eating so much rice.
Rice and macaroni.
Mm.
Oh, we got it.
It was. Oh, I don't know. You were much fatter than you are now. You might have been.
Middle-aged spread now.
Of course, well, you were still pretty. That photograph that Pete had when you went over into Switzerland, you look pretty plump on that, don't you? That must be that starvation fat, as the doctors tell you can get.
Well, war weddings very different. So when they were people were in such a hurry to get married before.
Oh, a lot of them didn't have. Well, they get married, but I mean, they didn't bother to have a lot of receptions. Some of them couldn't do. The wedding cakes they couldn't get ice because sugar was on ration. So they used to have cardboard casings. A lot of them. You know, to cover the cake up. Oh,
Did you have a proper wedding cake?
Yeah. Frank's uncle did that. You see, we were married 1940, started in 1939, didn't we? We were married 1940, so that things were not quite so bad
Yeah, but
at the time.
Still use the Ways and Means Society.
Oh, well, I know they joined the Ways and Means Society.
What's that?
Swapping, giving different, same as we'd got one customer, her husband was on, and two sons were on the railway. Well, they got extra cheese rations, you see. Well, I had got a sitting room upstairs, one of the bedrooms, and I put in for coal allowance, you see, which I got. So we used to have my coal tipped in a barrel, and then we used to take that down to Mrs. King's, and she used to let us have some of her cheese ration because I mean, we were passionately fond of cheese. There was only 3 of us, and we should have as much as 4 pounds of cheese a week before the war. We were all passionately fond of cheese, so that was one thing that we really missed.
Yes.
But this is how you got over these things.
Yes.
Different, like, you know, just as of course the Ways and Means Society. And then of course his dad went out in the country every Sunday, had done for years. And he used to take saccharines, anything that was scarce, and out to Blackbrook there. Well, people, they'd make their own butter. Well, Mr. Bailey, he's half a pound of butter. Another one is they never went short of butter or eggs. He'd always got 4 or 5 dozen eggs. You see, same as the cigarettes were scarce. Well, Father there was always so many cigarettes here on a Friday night when he came from work, picked them up. And whatever we could get, Ovaltine or anything, Horlicks, you know, whatever you could get hold of, he used to get it and he'd take it out into the country. He walked miles round these country lanes to different farms, taking all this stuff. Then when I worked nights, I used to go out with him. We'd catch a bus, the Market Drayton bus in Newcastle. Then we should catch one back at 2 o'clock. I used to go most of the times when we were on night, when we hadn't got a prisoner war meeting. Even when I was steward was born, we made a carrier. I made a canvas carrier and we used to go out with him. Because Frank was only in Manchester then, like after he came home. And even if he didn't come far, then I would go swinging him on there.
Did you really believe Frank would come back though?
Well, you always kept that feeling, whether he, you know, you always sort of had the feeling, always, all the hoping that he would, shall we say. Always got hoping that they would, but my mother used to say, well, don't you build your hopes up too much because anything can happen. You know, Job's comforted.
How do you feel about it now, looking back on it? What?
Tell you the truth, we never heard much of what they went through. You know, his story until Bill Armick called one night, and our Stuart, he was at college, and then there was Sheila, and we'd got one of the lads from college were here, and of course Bill came down, called, he'd take his wife up to visit someone in the infirmary. And he said, oh, I saw you were still open, so he said to the wife, I'm going back down to Frank Bailey's. And of course they were, Karen Bill kept saying to Frank, do you remember, just remember so-and-so, Frank? Do you remember this, Frank? And our two goggle-eyed, you know. And eventually, after Stuart got his dad to sit one night and talking about it, you know, telling them all the tales about the chocolate sliding down the trousers and all this, you know. I mean, they were thrown to bits. And it's same as I said, you see these things and you can read them, but you don't realise that it's happened to your own.
No.
You know, it just doesn't seem possible. I mean, I never thought that anything like that they'd gone through anything like they did till they, you know, we sat talking one night.
What, did you sort of imagine anything when you thought that he was escaping? Did you sort of have any dreams?
Well, I don't know, you're wondering where they are, or because you haven't got the idea that same as they did get past from one village by like smuggled along all the time. I mean, you wouldn't dream of anything like that.
But when you
sort
of had an idea that he might be escaping, did you sort of have any feelings about what might be happening?
No, I don't think so. I mean, with that fortune teller, I could imagine him walking, you know. But you can't imagine. No, I don't think you can imagine what they are doing. Only you're wondering all the time. You have the idea that someone must be hiding them.
Yes.
But you don't realise, you know, how they are getting in. I mean, I didn't know until he got into Switzerland. And then I think they only sent so many letters then. And he told me in the first letter what had happened, you know, that they'd been in this house in solitary confinement for so many months. I see that's because then he didn't say anymore, didn't tell you anymore. He just sort of kept quiet.
Yeah.
But of course I think this lot now, this come more out than you ever realised. Because when him and Bill Armick get together. Have you met him?
No.
Oh, he's a card, he is, honest. He's a card. Because he used to call, he very often used to call till they put these lights up and these double yellow lines here. But see, he's transport driving. Well, he can't pull up with his big lorries, the lorries that he drives. I mean, some of them great long things like this through. And he won't, because he won't pull up in any case. He could if he'd got just a van or a car, he could pull up and slip in, purchase something, but he couldn't stop talking, of course. But I mean, he very often used to pull up and slip in and, "Hi, glad how are you?"
Have you been to Germany?
No,
Italy?
no, I've never been. Oh, the only place I've been out of England is the old man. Frank keeps saying, we'll go back to Switzerland.
Would you like to go to Italy and see where Frank?
Well, I suppose I
been?
would, really.
Do you have any feelings against the Italians or
No, because I mean, some of them must have been very good to them, because they fed them and kept them going, you know.
Mm.
So I mean, I don't. It wasn't the Italian people themselves. Same as I said, they were only fighting like our lads, weren't they?
Yes.
No, and of course we've got quite a few customers that are Italians in any case.
Yeah.
People who stayed over here. I mean,
I don't know actually how they've landed, whether they've come over, a lot of them came over to work, you know, when the war finished, and went down the pits. A lot of the Italians went working down the pits. I think that's how a lot of them have come over. I know that's how Raven only came, but of course after he'd been in so long, they bought a chip shop. Of course he married a girl. Well, as a matter of fact, her father used to work with Frank down in Italy.
are your feelings about the Italians and different from the Germans?
No, not exactly. No. No, because same as I say, the German people themselves, well, of course they didn't want it, did they? But I mean, when they got hold of the Gestapo, they were. I mean, I couldn't understand the Gestapo in any case, because they did such cruel things, nasty things. I mean, it just, you couldn't make, same as you couldn't understand you couldn't make you understand the things they did. We had a book, and it was called In, and if I remember right, it was a Daily Mail publication, and it was all on the German atrocities. And Robinson's at Bursam, the wholesalers, their son Peter used to come here a lot. Well, they were all being confiscated, so Peter brought one down here. And I don't know what, we must have lent this to someone, I don't know what happened to it, but it showed you all the different things, and these gas chambers and the things that were done. And it just doesn't seem possible. But Frank Lawton, across the way, the paint shop there, he was looking at it one day, and he said it was all perfectly true, because he said he was on it, he was taken over to Germany, and he was on this clearing up, and they just dug miles and miles of land and just threw the bodies in. They made the German people dig those themselves, you know, and bury these bodies that had been burnt and tortured, and a lot of them were more Jews than anything else.
Yes.
You see, it just doesn't seem possible.
No.
I mean, it's a Gestapo that you were against, but still, I mean, I think, well, as I say, you can't explain, you can't think of anyone doing such things as they did. But as I say, it wasn't the German people themselves, people like ourselves, they didn't know what was going on. They didn't realise.
It's just one last thing, Des. Can you actually remember seeing Frank off?
Well, oh, it's Stoke Station,
Yeah.
yes.
Can you remember anything about that?
Oh, I can't. I can remember that funny feeling down here. Yeah, it's a funny feeling, really, you know, because you don't know whether you're going to see them again or not. You get over it eventually.
What did you actually do when you'd seen him off?
Oh, I suppose I come home and had a good cry.
Yeah.
And I had a good cry and then went back to work next morning.
Right, if you'd just like to tell me.
Yes, well, where the baby linen shop is, the bus stop used to be there.
Yeah.
Well, I was on the shop doorstep, you see, saw Frank get off the bus in full kit. He got to the Vic here and in between the two roads there was a crossing. Not a crossing,
Zebra.
no, an island, you know, one of these
Yeah.
keep left things. And Frank was that side and I was this side. And every time we both made put to cross the road, a car would come in front of us. We couldn't get together. And yet in the middle of the island we'd met and were clinging to one another. But I could still see us both, each side of the road, and we couldn't get at one another. So to me, that always signified that Frank would come home.
Yes.
You see, he always
Yeah.
said, whatever happens, he'll come home. Of course, when he was reported missing, this dream came into my mind. In fact, I never
So
thought
when
about it.
did you
before.
actually have the dream?
About 3 weeks before he was reported missing.
Oh,
Oh, I couldn't tell you what date that was. I've
no,
forgotten.
no. But it gave you. It gave you.
That's right. Yes.
Yes.
It was just that dream, and I never thought about it on Friday when you were on.
Oh, that's
Never do ever to thought, and it's very unusual because that's always been the first thing in my mind, and yet I completely forgot all about it. Even when Jackie said, "Do you have a dream?" I never gave it a thought. And I wakened up in the middle of the night and thought, "Oh, what a fool I was." It's funny. Just went complete out of my mind.
Thank you.